What was your relationship with your mom like compared to your dad?
It was interesting. My mom and I are really, really close, but we're so different.
What do you mean?
And, my dad worked away, so he was like in and out, but him and I are so similar at times. And like, I didn't really realize that until adulthood. But, yeah, I mean, it was definitely, there are a lot of difficulties in having young parents, and there are a lot of, nice things about it too, where sometimes you feel like you have a friend because you're not that far in age difference.
Yeah, y'all going to the same nightclubs, wearing the same clothes. Damn. Mom, can I borrow your crop top?
But I did find myself saying like, can you just be my parent right now?
Oh, really? So your parents were, although they had you really young, when they were raising you, there were times where you needed an authoritative figure that like exhibited more wisdom, and you felt like they were like being peers more than really. Okay. So what did that look like? Yeah. What did that look like? Give me an example of what that looked like.
Oh my gosh. You're like putting me on the spot. I don't even know. Like, I mean, I've said it even up to like this point in my adulthood. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I still say it, but it's just, yeah, there is. And I went to therapy for this, and the therapy talked about like, are you aware that you were parenting your parents sometimes?
Oh,
and are you aware that you were raising your parents sometimes? And it's like, now as an adult, yes. And what that does is, I go through the process of, because you don't get to be a child sometimes in that certain circumstance.
Yeah.
And also, especially when your family needs money, or you need money to do certain things that other kids are doing that, you should be able to do too.
Yeah.
I think I had my first job by like 11, right? And I just like kept working from there.
Wait, what sweatshop was this? What is this?
I was a hustler. I was like, I'll babysit your kids. I'll do this and that. You know what I mean? So
give me your children and then give me money and I'll give them back to you. That's called ransom, okay? All right?
That's
like, I'm not gonna lie. I used to babysit these 4 boys across the street from us. Rambunctious as all hell. And I was like, how old was I? I was probably like 14. And these like kids range age between like 3 and like 10, and there was 4 of them. I was just like, and they were running around jumping on me. I'm just like, I just got to get this money.
So
no, I know. Trust me, I'm not a stranger to hustling. Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it like continued like that. You know what I mean? By 14, I was working at a video store, and then in college, I had like 5 different jobs to get myself through college. You know what I mean? And what that does is, you're kind of in survival mode that whole time, which is a more masculine energy. So while I loved looking girly and being girly, right? And I naturally felt very girly, I was always exuding a very masculine energy because I had to, right? And
what did that look like?
Just like, I don't know. It's really interesting because it's not even something I was aware of, but just like always having to take charge and be in control and, lead, basically always leading and not ever allowing myself to be led, really.
So how does that translate to like when you're in relationships? Like, how does someone who is now a hypnotherapist teaching other people all these tactics to like improve themselves, how does that translate to like how you relate to other people, especially romantically?
It's so interesting because, and I'll say forever, my first boyfriend that I ever had in college, like he taught me so much about myself, and I have really great relationships with the majority of any long-term relationships that I had. So I'm so grateful for that.
Okay.
And, he was very financially stable, which I had never experienced before. He was very smart and secure in himself, which I had never experienced before. And it was just like, it allowed me to be myself for the first time and kind of gave me some space to feel what it felt like to be cared for and feminine in such a way, and allowed me to want to nurture someone else the way that like I wanted to, without having to feel like I had to like work constantly and you know, handle everything. But it was interesting because, you know, we broke up my senior year of college because of distance. And then I went straight back into work mode, right? I graduated college and all of that. I went straight back into like hustle, hustle, hustle. And then what's interesting is I was actually married. I got married when I was 25, 26.
Oh, okay.
And that relationship, it was funny because I was still kind of leading in the masculine role, even in that relationship, even though he was like the jock and the you know, the president of the fraternity and all this stuff.
He was a jock in public, but you were leading in the relationship.
Yeah, I often was. I was making more money. I was like, you know, just my ambition level was different, you know, and it's stuff like that, right? Because like there's always got to be like a more masculine and more feminine polarity, and if that polarity is off, that can translate in the bedroom as well.
But let me ask you a question. What is it about your dynamic where you considered yourself more masculine? Because you mentioned money. Was that the main thing that made you feel more masculine?
No, I think it was just like he was like a little more passive. He was an amazing person. He is an amazing person. We're still friendly, which I'm grateful for. But more passive.
Still friends with her ex. Y'all heard that, right? She's still friends with her ex.
Friendly. He's married, has kids. Like, you know, we don't go to each other's
I apologize.
birthday parties.
She's friendly.
We have no hate. So it was interesting because I felt like I, you know, was making a lot of the decisions and it was almost like, and again, we were young, but it was almost like playing mom and playing like, you know, the go-getter in the family, like all of it.
But do you feel like you did that?
Both roles.
Do you feel like you did that because you made more money, or that's who you were at the time naturally, and that translated to you making more money? Which was it?
No, I felt like that's who I was naturally, because I remember my dad coming up and saying, "This is going to be a problem," and I was like, "What's going to be a problem?" And he goes, "You making more money and working more." Oh, wow. And I was like, no, it's not. Because I was very much, I'm like 26 years old and I'm in my like girl power, feminist energy. I'm like, I can do what I want. I can be successful and like keep my nice house and do this and that.
Yes,
and it's like, right. Yeah.
Okay, so given that you had that experience, and obviously that was a journey in itself. I'm not sure how long that relationship was, but you got married and then you got divorced, and you're saying some of what you just mentioned contributed to why you got divorced?
Yeah, it definitely contributed to why I got divorced. Different ambition levels, things like that, and you know the energy dynamics being off. But it's also what made me do the work, right? Got it. You know, go to 2 years of therapy and learn about myself and some of the dynamics that I had picked up. Yeah, some of the dynamics that I'd picked up from my parents that weren't necessarily serving me as an adult, right? And really just like start to heal my own inner child, my own wounds, my own mindsets that actually, you know, my healers and my mentors became my teachers, which led me to do the work that I do now with people. Because I had to get through that entire process. So now, I mean, going back to, that was a really, again, long-winded way of talking about what it looks like romantically for me now. Yeah. It can be really difficult to be a very self-aware and person that's done a lot of work on myself, a lot of, you know, subconscious work, energy work, and all of it, right? To be a very healthy person inside and out. Because then you also need a very healthy person inside and out, or else somebody's going to be playing catch up, basically.
I mean, that sounds like the kind of journey that one should write a book about. I want commissions. But that's a very dynamic experience, which kind of breeds like the hustler aspect in you, right? Because I feel like in a lot of ways you're still like a hustler. Like you have your own business, you're still producing like income for yourself, and you're creating a lifestyle for yourself, and you're also, trying to achieve more, I imagine, right? How do you balance doing all of that and still trying to minimize how, staying away from the energy you were exuding in the past that got you in trouble?
Yeah, I think knowing when to turn it off, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's and realizing that you can still be in that divine feminine energy, and that is a very powerful and strong and receiving energy, right? I didn't step enough into my feminine and enough into realizing how much more powerful that makes me. So knowing that there are times in my business where I need to kind of, be slightly more in the masculine and just kind of like be that just extreme go-getter energy sometimes, but knowing that when I want to attract a masculine man, someone that's very confident in his masculinity, I'm going to sink back and give him the space to be, because that's one thing I noticed I did not do with my ex-husband. I never gave him the space to become the leader that he needed to be, or to lead me or anything. I just like went ahead and did it. Right.
Yeah.
So
you
whatever
you
you're
kind of in a lot of ways you kind of massaged him into the mindset that he had in a lot of ways, or you attracted it.
Absolutely, because he was definitely a mama's boy, which is a nice thing, but then it was like, mom was still doing his laundry when I met him, things like that. And then it was kind of like, oh, here, now you get to do it, and those are things like cooking and cleaning. And those are all things I love to do. But I love to do it more when I know I am being like led and cared for, and I don't have to do all of the leading. Right.
That's it's a powerful thing that a lot of people take for granted, especially in dynamics. Sometimes people do things because they feel like they have to, but it might not be the most potent version of themselves. And that could be for both men and women, right? Some men, maybe they're not supposed to be leaders. Maybe they do belong in relationships where they're with women that are comfortable leading, but that's, has its own dynamics and things to like work through. But it's always important to know, what are you most comfortable with? Like, you need to be able to explore like different aspects of life in ways where you'll be able to say, okay, I'm really strong at this. This makes me feel good. This makes me feel bad, versus like, I'm just going to endure because it's what I'm used to doing. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's the thing. Like, you hear these arguments all the time about what's right and what's wrong, as far as like dynamics in couples. And it's like, there is no right and wrong. I just know what lights me up. Right. And that might be different from what lights the next person up.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to find someone that works and dances and flows with you and lights you up in that way. Because I know for me, when I have a confident masculine in my presence, and he's like, I like certain chivalrous things when he's opening the door for me and doing things like that, it literally makes me want to do more for him. It's not like oh, I gotta do this, or I gotta do like, it's literally like, he keeps doing these little things for me. What more can I do for him? And people don't realize that dynamic, that push-pull, it creates more passion. It creates more sexual tension, like all of it.
Yeah, so, no, that's true. And I think as someone like yourself who recognize that, you will be properly receptive to that. Whereas not every woman responds to those things that way for multiple reasons, whether for natural, personalities or social reasons. They might feel a little hesitant because they might fear, being vulnerable. They might fear, putting themselves in that position because of like social pressures to be a different type of woman. Like, there's a lot of things that are at play, or naturally that's just not them.